Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be ranting about the relationship between parents and their kids, specifically under the age of 16. I will be addressing how the role of the parent when raising their child has changed in our current society, and how government programs are set up and incentivized to separate children from their families. Just a disclaimer, I am not a parent, nor will I be anytime soon. But as a career professional who has experience in dealing with parents and their kids and seeing the evolution of the relationship go from authoritative to permissive, from being told what to do to being able to choose freely, this change in the dynamics of parenting was not obvious at first, but as the following generation started growing up, it is evident that society looks down upon authoritative parenting styles and pushes for an open parenting style, such as permissive, where the child can make their own choices in almost every aspect of their young life. What does this mean for the parent? Is the role of the parent now just to clothe, feed, and house a child, and government programs take control of the rest of the child's fate through school indoctrination, family court, and child protective services? Is a parent's right to raise their child as they see fit being taken away? Well, today, I will be highlighting how these questions are in the minds of many parents who feel that the government is getting more and more involved and interfering with how they are raising their kids. Now, I know what many of you are thinking, but what if the parents are unfit to parent and are directly and indirectly abusing their child? Of course, yes. In those circumstances, there should be an intervention and have the child removed and placed in a safe environment. However, when there is a financial motive to separating families, that's when I have to draw the line, which I will get into a little later. Just like the hospitals who get government grants for every RONI patient that they get hooked up to a respirator, the CPS or Child Protective Services also gets government grants for every child they place in foster care. So on that note, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Jacob Rant. I am Jacob Rant, and this is my channel where I post original rants, give personal advice, and provide intelligent content that questions social narratives and the world that we live in. And not only this, but at some point in the videos that I post, I announce a new challenge for you to try in the comfort of your own home. It usually has nothing to do with the rant, sometimes it does. Whether it's a personal challenge, a physical challenge, or a practical challenge, it will be a challenge that you will surely benefit from. So make sure you stay until the end of every video that I post and go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell and notification to get my latest videos and challenges. And don't forget to pew pew that like button. Now, for the most part, when defining friendship, it means that nobody is in charge. Friendship is strictly egalitarian, which means equal. Neither person exercises any authority over the other. But what about when it comes to a parent and their child? When we refer to them as friends, are we talking egalitarian? The two schools of parenting that I will be discussing in this video are authoritative, where the parent is the authority figure and the child adheres to the parent's rules, and permissive parenting, where parents reject the whole notion of keeping their kids under control. With the rise of social media access and social propaganda propagating that children are their own person and can make decisions freely, have shown how much control parents really have on their own children. As you can see from this chart, by looking at the parenting style and what that style looks like, vastly ranges from one extreme to another. Authoritarian is one extreme where it is an aggressive approach that has minimal emotion attached to it. And to the other extreme is permissive parenting, where there is no control and mainly an emotional attachment. Of course, neglectful parenting is when neither control nor emotion is provided, and the balanced style, authoritative, is where both control and emotional attachment is provided. Ultimately, research suggests that kids do better when their parents show affection and enforce age-appropriate limits on their children's behavior. So in other words, an authoritative style. Now, even though a parent may be the most sweeting and the most loving, who also has a balanced authority and control over the kids, exhibiting authoritative parenting style, it isn't always going to be balanced. There are some things that kids do that require a firm demand or control by the parent for the safety of the child. And at times, this can be seen by onlookers who have no context of what is going on as that parent going overboard. Such as times where a child might be running around the mall and you have to hold on to them tightly so they don't run off while they are screaming, or raising your voice because they were being disrespectful or swearing at other people. Or it can be as simple as being a little brat and throwing things around because they did not get their way. I personally have seen these scenarios happen, and I'm sure many of you have as well. And my opinion on the measure of discipline the parents took during these scenarios may differ to another onlooker. So every onlooker will have their own opinion of what is happening. And this is a big deal because an onlooker can easily dial Child Protective Services or the police and make a complaint that the parent went overboard and abused the child. Although that may not have been the case, but once a complaint is made in regards to child abuse and neglect, a case is then open and stays open until the investigation is done. And even when the investigation is closed, there is still a record of what happened. And this leads me to my next point: how child services uses traditional parenting styles to make their case for removing the child from the home because it does not exemplify the modern parenting style, such as having a conversation with your child about the problem and hearing what they have to say, or having them reflect on their actions, or writing an apology letter, or having their video games and technology taken away. This parenting style may or may not work for every home or for every child, and as such, parents should have the right to parent as they see fit without government or agency intervention. For tens of thousands of children, foster care has become a trapdoor rather than the safety net they need to help them succeed. In particular, federal financing policies have favored foster care over other child welfare approaches, leading to overused foster care instead of looking for whose families could be rehabilitated. Many children have experienced safety, permanency, and well-being through the foster care system. Many dedicated foster parents, social workers, and agency managers, both public and private, work hard to help children and families overcome neglect, abuse, and their causes and effects. Yet, many thousands of children and youth still suffer because of foster care and child welfare policies. Foster care is yet another example of the incapacity of a large, complex central bureaucracy to direct social programs to diverse localities across the country. Now, in my introduction, I had mentioned that similar to the RONI government grants given to hospitals, where the hospitals gets funding for every patient that they hook up to the respirator, Child Protective Services gets similar grants. For every child they place into the foster care system, they will receive government grants. When considering child neglect, for example, which is often the result of poverty, it seems ironic that funds supposedly intended to offset the worst effects of poverty being used to finance the separation of poor families. So instead of the millions of dollars given to separate children from their families, that money should be used to take the families out of poverty. Now, going deeper in the rabbit hole, in an attempt to minimize kids bouncing from foster care to foster home to foster home, the government created adoption payment incentives, which means there is an incentive for child services to push for adoption rather than reuniting the child with their family. But in order to begin collecting that money, a state or agency must exceed last year's number of adopted children, thus incentivizing states to permanently rehome an ever-increasing number of children each year. And as predicted, the number of adoptions increased in the 5 years after this implementation of the incentive program, while reunification with their families denied. So money went up to increase rehoming and monies went down for reuniting families with their children. And not only do adoption agencies get an incentive, but so do foster agencies. Many private agencies who deal with foster care get paid for each day that child remains in foster care. So the private agency has an incentive to convince itself and the courts that the child really can't go home and has to stay with them for a long time. The longer the child is in foster care, the longer that money will be coming in from government grant. So whether or not you are a parent or guardian of a child, it is important to realize that not every household will function the same. Not every household will have the same rules and authority, and not every household will be financially stable. And as a result, parenting styles will be different, the relationship between the parent and child will be different, and what you see in public as overboard when the parent is trying to control their child for their own safety and benefit does not constitute making a call out of context and starting the process of separating a family. And that leads us right to our challenge of the day. So today's challenge is memories. This challenge is connected to today's rant and requires a little more effort than my previous videos. So what I want you to do today is reflect on your upbringing. Identify one moment in your upbringing where you made a big mistake, like maybe broke a window, failed a grade, getting caught for a crime, etc. Once you have identified that moment, look at how your parent or guardian handled the situation. Were you spanked? Had your toys taken away? Grounded? A firm conversation? Or was it barely addressed? Now, looking at the current mood of society, if you had your own child or niece or nephew, etc., and they committed a similar act, how would you handle the situation? Would you emulate the punishment that you got, or would you take a different approach? I would love to hear about your approach and how your challenge went, so comment and DM me on my Instagram at another Jacob Rant. If you have made it this far, make sure to pew that like button and subscribe to my channel to see more original content. And again, my Instagram is another Jacob Rant, where I will post challenge updates, announcements, shoutouts, and giveaways, and also DM me with your rants, questions for advice, and even a shout out in my video. Details are in the description box below. I just want to say thank you so much for watching my channel and making it part of your subscribed playlist. I appreciate each and one of you, and I will see you in the next video. Stay ranting.